looking forward to this.
All right.
Depends on which sage you choose.
So yeah, so I'll outline the practice, and then we'll go through the steps, and then we'll wrap up with something else. So the first thing we're going to do is a centering ritual that I just learned recently, and I practiced it once before. It went really, really well. And then we'll do the Stoic view from above. Have either of you done that before?
No.
Great. So we'll do that. And it's apropos because we're going to do Marcus Aurelius. And the reason I picked what I picked is because of some group practices and some research I've been doing with some other people. And they brought up this really cool point that your practices should be centered around joy. Like if there's one state of mind or human feeling or something like that, like joy is kind of a good one to circle around. And so I found 3 really short, like half paragraphs from Marcus Aurelius that I thought really embodied the kind of joy that is conducive of good spiritual practice. So then we'll just go through the fellowship with that. And just to remind everyone of the fellowship steps. So we will.
Want to mention quickly, I'm really looking forward to seeing how we're going to make Marcus Aurelius weird. Like that's going to be fun.
I mean, he's a unique fellow. Yeah, he's kind of I won't get off topic with the weird things I know about Marcus Aurelius.
But he feels so stable for me, so I think that's going to be a challenge. But challenge accepted.
Well, no, he was wild as a young person. Just to again share with why I appreciate him is like he would go hunting, and hunting was really big with like the upper class people in Rome, and he would never listen to his instructor. He would always do things his own way, and so he's definitely like weird and out of the norm in a lot of ways. He helped revive the temples of Mithra. Not a lot of people can say they've done that in their lives, and just all sorts of cool things. So he does have this image of kingly sagehood or something like that, enacting very active sage. But so yeah, so the steps of the philosophical fellowship, just as a reminder. So slow reading, kind of read the text aloud, and we can savor it slowly. Then we'll do chanting with a phrase. I'll copy and paste it into the chat, and we'll chant like 4 or 5 times. Then we'll go into precious speaking. You're trying to evoke and invoke the sage as you speak, and the precious speaking puts a constraint on the babbling that we're also good at, the human talking. So we'll do that 3 or 4 or 5 times, and then we'll go into more open, intentional conversation, still keeping the order. And we'll just go me, and then Holly, then Lizelle, which is just what my Zoom screen shows. And then that's 4 or 5 sentences. And we'll do that at least 2 or 3 times, and then open it up into open freeform speaking where the order doesn't matter. And we can just kind of jazz riff, as John likes to say, off of each other for a little bit. And then we'll wrap up with a takeaway. So we can all, if something is alive, we can share a takeaway. And then we'll do the cleansing, centering ritual that we start with one last time to reorient us to the rest of reality and away from this numinous space that we might create, and then wrap up. So cool. Any questions or anything before we begin?
Just a lot of gratitude, Robert, for you bringing this together, and also immense gratitude for Lizelle, just for who she is. And it sounds like it's going to be deliciously sacred. I'm really looking forward to getting nourished. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I love these practices, and I'm super glad to hear that and appreciate it a lot. And yeah, I'm so glad to be with both of you as well. So all right, so we will start with a centering ritual. Feel free to leave your cameras on, and you can gesture while we're doing this. I find that helps sometimes for me. So imagine a circle around you. Nothing bad can get in it. It's a safe center. Now imagine white light like a pillar surrounding you in the circle, cleansing you, removing unwanted thoughts, unwanted emotions, cleansing you. Now gesture forward and imagine a small symbolic piece of earth. Honor that feeling. Grounded, centered, rooted. Now gesture left and imagine a small symbolic piece of water. Honor that feeling. Emotional, moving, rhythmic, harmonic. Now gesture right and imagine a small symbolic piece of wind. Honor that feeling. Intelligent, floating, moving, light. Now gesture back and imagine a small symbolic piece of fire. Honor that feeling. Powerful, desiring, moving, changing. Now integrate these feelings together. Sacred, respected, reverent. Connecting you to the present and to us all. Now we're going to start the view from above. I'm going to turn my camera off. Feel free to leave it on or off. It's fine. And we'll start by just taking a minute or two to quietly center yourself and find your core and be in your body. And then I'll start the contemplation exercise. So now I'm going to walk you through the view from above practice. While keeping your eyes closed, imagine yourself exactly where you are in your room or outside. Imagine it around you, and you're at the center of that perspective. It's only natural to imagine you're exactly in the place that you're in. Very gently imagine yourself, at least your mind, floating up above in the room. The roof of your room is becoming transparent, and you can see into that room from above. Perhaps you still see your body sitting in the meditation posture. Now imagine yourself gently, no fear, rising higher. You can see the entire city or countryside where you're living. You see the place that your body's in, but you can now see the entire city or countryside. Now rise up even higher, very gently, no jarring, completely fine. Now you can see the entire country that you belong to spread out below you. Take a moment to really dwell in this. Notice how your sense of what's salient and relevant and what's important is shifting. The sense of self even is shifting. Now, rise up gently, no problem with any of this, until you're now seeing the whole earth beneath you. Very gently dwell here. Note the transformation in your sense of what's relevant, what's salient, your sense of self. Now, even further and farther. So you're way back, looking at the entire solar system. You're starting to feel like you're no one in particular, and you're nowhere in particular. Settle into that and try to enjoy it. Now pull back, further and further, until you're seeing the galaxy the solar system is within. Now you're no one and nowhere. Notice what's salient and relevant and your sense of self are very different. Now it's like there's a time machine. It's not just this moment now. Pull back in space and also pull back in time. You can see to the beginning of time, the beginning of the universe. And forward, far into the future. Now you're not only know one and know where, you're know when. Savor this. Notice the alteration and what things are like, how things feel relevant, salient. What your sense of self is. Now slowly and paying attention to how what's relevant and salient, the identities of things, the boundaries, your sense of self changes as you do this. Slowly come back into seeing the solar system, back into the present moment as well. Then come back to seeing the earth. And you feel things taking shape, tightening the sense of self, the sense of the moment. Noticing what's important changing. Now see the country you belong to. Now the city. Now the place we're building. Now seeing the room or place you're in. Now reimagine yourself where you are. But remember what it was like to be no one, nowhere, no when. Try to integrate these two together. Feel them deeply together, like stereoscopic vision. One eye is seeing you here now. The other eye is seeing that no one, nowhere, no when. Let them talk to each other. Dialogue. Okay, slowly come out of the practice. I'm going to copy the passage into the chat in case you want to look at it while we practice. it doesn't want to. There we go. And there's the order. And this is the sentence we'll chant when we get there, but you don't need any of that right now. So I'm going to slow read to try and presence the text. Different people find their joy in different things. And it is my joy to keep my ruling center unimpaired and not turn my back on any human being or anything that befalls the human race, but to look on all things with a kindly eye and welcome and make use of each according to its worth. When you wish to delight yourself, think of the virtues of those who live with you. For instance, the activity of one and the modesty of another, and the liberality of a third, and some other good quality of a fourth. For nothing delights so much as the examples of the virtues, when they are exhibited in the morals of those who live with us and present themselves in abundance as far as possible. Hence, we must keep them before us. Do not think of things that are absent as though they were already at hand, but pick out the best from those that you presently have, and with these before you, reflect on how greatly you would have wished for them if they were not already here. At the same time, however, take good care that you do not fall into the habit of overvaluing them because you are so pleased to have them, so that you would be upset if you no longer had them at some future time. All right, so now we'll chant, when you wish to delight yourself, think of the virtues of those who live with you.
When you wish to delight yourself, think of the virtues of those who live with you.
When you wish to delight yourself, think of the virtues of those who live with you.
When you wish to delight yourself, think of the virtues of those who live with you.
When you wish to delight yourself, think of the virtues of those who live with you.
When you wish to delight yourself, think of the virtues of those who live with you.
When you wish to delight yourself, think of the virtues of those who live with you.
When you wish to delight yourself, think of the virtues of those who live with you.
When you wish to delight yourself, think of the virtues of those who live with you.
When you wish to delight yourself, think of the virtues of those who live with you.
When you wish to delight yourself, think of the virtues of those who live with you.
When you wish to delight yourself, think of the virtues of the others, those who live with you.
When Marcus wishes to delight himself, he often thinks of the virtues of those who lived with him.
When they wish to delight themselves, think of the virtues of those who live with them.
When I wish to delight myself, I think of the virtues of those who live with me.
So now we'll go into precious speaking and try to presence the perspective of the sage who wrote this and invite them to be with us. I'm just astonished in like the most loving way that someone could have these thoughts, because they're so beautiful.
Wonder if these thoughts aren't your own. And I wonder about the tree delighting in itself and the virtues of the trees and what virtue it sees in me.
The joy of being able to look away from myself towards the tree, towards the others, and see their beauty.
The potential. Go ahead. Sorry.
Go on.
The potential of the world is so full of virtue. It's it's refreshing to notice that.
And if we are not separate from inner and outer, Everything that is without, outside of us is also within us. The cosmos of virtues just keeps expanding and expanding. And Marcus keeps living with us and expanding and expanding.
For what is other but the ability to see that which time and space separates from me, where we are now.
We all play a part, a small part in the biggest story.
Sometimes I don't delight in what I see.
When you wish to delight yourself, think of the virtues of those who live with you.
I have one friend who has the courage to change, and another friend who has the courage to give up money to help others. And I love them more than the biggest statues on earth, which I also love quite a bit.
The love of a statue, the virtue of a statue, the being of a statue, so dependent on so many things. Virtue as a network and a web of becoming. Virtue is not static, but shared and connected. Makes sense and has some ripples and waves to it. It's virtuous hands that make those statues.
I'm struggling to see myself because the whole from our meditation, from our being here together is so present. And this is the lighting I feel. This is joy. And yet, joy is also coming back to this body, coming back to this person, whom I love because I have seen the whole and I felt the love that the whole feels. And playing this one's part.
Yeah, one of the beauties of participating in beauty is that you know beauty, and beauty is virtue. So it's just kind of cool the way the whole yields to the part, but in the part knowing itself, it like realizes the whole. Despite the mystery of the whole.
I'm sinking into the hollowness, the hallowedness of the whole, through which beauty arises, and that one does not need to learn how to understand beauty. One does not need to learn how to appreciate a sunset or a starry sky. And maybe there's this sense, yeah, there's beauty everywhere. And I wonder if a real marker of a sage is somebody who can, in any given moment, feel a deep gratitude and see beauty and feel that gratitude and actually mean it, to really feel into that, no matter what the surrounding circumstances may be. So maybe I'm feeling into the delight, but I'm also really feeling into the gratitude.
What causes the turn was a question I was confronted with earlier this morning. What causes the turn from looking at the shadows in the cave to turning around and going to the real? And it's this capacity for beauty, for seeing beauty. And I feel tears well up behind my eyes because it's also a call. It's also a call towards the beautiful and towards being beautiful, towards living beautifully, so that more beauty can be seen.
Yeah, I love hearing both of you speak, because I really feel like it's presencing the spirit of Marcus and the view of the universe, that anywhere there's goodness, there's no badness. It's there's a kind of goodness that overflows into the rest of beyond itself. And it's also kind of cool that seed that can grow into what you were saying, Lizelle, can start almost unnoticed. Like it's cool how small, simple things can lead to the greatest virtues. Like Marcus Aurelius's parents were brick makers, and their son changed history. And so we can open up a little more into 3 or 4 sentences and kind of move into that step as well.
Something that's arising is this notion of absence and lacking. Yesterday I was at the grocery store and the cashier was telling me how bored he was, and he was making snowflakes out of paper, cutting out holes to make snowflakes, and just reflecting on how that absence of the paper, the holes within the paper, had all this virtue and beauty in him. It was both the paper and the holes and the absence of something there that made it beautiful. How there is natural intelligence and beauty, and even in the darkest and holiest of places.
I love that Marcus Aurelius' parents were brick makers, because that's where we start, right, with bricks. That's where we start building. And I'm thinking of this whole idea of reflecting on the virtues of those who live with you. Expanding your concept of what that means. Those who live with you. Building a cathedral. For others to live with you. But I'm also thinking then of the responsibility of choosing wisely who can live with you, and actively building your character so that you can be one invited into the cathedral of others.
Yeah, I think there's something really, really precious about the idea of self-development, that it's actually for both you and the world. It's not even that selfish of a task, but also you're a vital part of it. It's got both of those sides. And I also just really like finding the virtue in the cashier that's bored. I think that's great, because when you can see yourself in other people and see the beauty of other people in themselves, the whole world is different. It's just yeah, the whole world is different. That's all I need to say, I think.
My body feels like a pinball machine right now, and all the words are bouncing and lighting up different things, and it's just as you each hold the ball. Marcus Aurelius, coming from a tradition of homemaking or brick home building, place building. Who do we invite into our temple, into our pyramid? Who who is this themselves, who we live with. And for myself, I've really been reflecting on the ancestors, many, many ancestors, both human and non, and how they all need a home. And I recently was feeling a lot of tense energy. And I went and I built a little home for my ancestors. just a little altar. You can live here. I'll come visit you. You come live here and you have a home. Doesn't need to always be in my body. But the sense that everything that comes alive, everything has a home somewhere, has a place. Nothing's meant to be banished, just put in its proper place.
Yeah, I like that, because that's the whole beauty of looking the view from above, right? Seeing that it's one home. It's one home that we all share, with our virtues and our vices. And I almost want to say, if you wish to delight yourself, think of the virtues of those who live with you. And if you want to expand yourself, if you want to teach yourself how to truly love, think of their vices. And also build for them a home. And also invite them into your cathedral.
Yeah, as I let that sink in, it reminds me of a cave and returning to the cave to love the prisoners of the cave. Yeah, and I also love in the view from above that it puts this point in time into the middle instead of at the front. Like there's so much future that is kind of naked and open and just not decided. So maybe all of these vice-filled, disheveled parts of ourselves or parts of the time we live in, you know, can I don't know, like a river and a person just wash each other and become intertwined in each other's fates in such a way that they all help each other in some way. Yeah, I just also feel a sense of reverence for people like Marcus Aurelius, who can kind of be that light in the darkness that we can aspire towards when we notice the dirty parts of our nature. Yeah, how much hope that gives, actually.
I'm thinking about this word delight and shining a light on something, and thinking about vices as simply virtues become inflated or become too full or too anemic. So within those vices, there's virtue. And where do we shine the light?
something that jumped out at me was the connection between Holly's space for the ancestors that she's building or built, and Robert's reference to how we are, if we look also outside of time, how there's so much history still to be made, and how we will also shortly, very shortly, become ancestors. And yeah, I'm not sure what to make of that, but that jumped out at me, that making a home for the ancestors, which we will shortly be.
Yeah, I just feel like a deep sense of participation in humanity with all of these reflections, and how it is such a responsibility and the greatest gift in some way, like that we can go from nature to the spiritual, to nature to the spiritual, and this kind of gift. I don't know, it's amazing to realize. It's like I don't even know what action that realization spawns, but it's a really beautiful image.
Moo.
Like that. Be responsible, motherfuckers. Do your job, humans. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, all of this ritual and falling in love with the world is also a way of falling in love with myself. Because it's all me. And I sort of had this thought, I was thinking about animals and thinking about consciousness and thinking about consciousness as the capacity to love. And looking at the animals and they don't necessarily really make love, but they make a whole lot of beauty. And from that beauty, my body can feel love. And that feels like a big responsibility, is with this capacity to love, to take all this beauty that has been given and to allow these bodies that maybe can't feel it as deeply as I can, they get to use my body to do that, right? They're making all this beauty. They can use my body then to feel what it's like to be the water, to be the wind, to be the cow taking care of its calf. That feels like a responsibility I have for this world.
We are the ones with the gift of conscious attention, and so we should give it. Holly, it's so beautiful. Besides the fact that your cow mooed just before you started speaking, it just walked in the back, like just as you were talking about, it's on the other side now, just as you were talking about seeing animals, whoop, 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 there it came. Like, yes, I see the animal. Thank you for showing yourself, animal. I see you. I pay attention to you. And that is such a, I think that is so important to be able to do. And Holly, that's why I deeply appreciate you. The consciousness for the sake of those with less consciousness, as as far as we understand it then, truly geocentric and not anthropocentric, truly the whole and not just the human whole. That is so important, that we can learn to live that way. And I just want to honor you for exemplifying that.
I'm just beautifully perplexed that I got to observe that beautiful moment, Lizelle. That was, felt deeply grateful and genuine, and yeah, thank you. And yeah, while you were, well, both of you were speaking, I think it is like kind of cool in a weird way, or weird in a cool way, how our consciousness can appreciate other things, and how our bodies can move the world for other beings, and like that we can do it together. Like we can come together in this like group body by sharing our thoughts with words, and being inspired by each other, and moving things towards better better places than they are. Yeah, and cows are also adorable, so I'm glad that adorable cows have been brought up a couple of times. I love looking in their big eyes, and then they'll move their little tail or whatever, an ear will flop, and yeah, I sometimes wonder if like invisibly the universe is a giant purple cow or something like that, if you zoomed out far enough. So we can go into open jazz riffing, so we can drop the order and just do that for a little bit.
I think Marcus really likes being here. I think he's delighting in our company.
Looking at the third passage that we shared. Just thinking of how greatly I wished for that which I have now. And how grateful I am for having it.
Yeah, I think there's something kind of amazing when you can appreciate the moment you're in. It sounds such like a simple thing, but we get so covered in like this dark karma that when we can just go like, wow, the world is good. It's fundamentally the most good of good. in those realizations, it's like, yeah, I agree with that quite a bit, Lizelle. Reminds me too that Marcus, like, he always wanted to just be a philosopher. He didn't want to do the responsibilities he had. He wrote about it, and it's like, you know, he just wanted to find that beauty in the world that was underneath all the chaos he was kind of thrust into, and wars, and his brother died while he was at war, and economic collapses. Like, you know, it's not that different from the world we live in today, though it was thousands of years ago. And yeah, how he could maintain the clarity of intent and vision to want to do good as effortlessly as a cow crosses behind a friend.
It seems so simple, right? If we look at it that way. The cow is adding so much beauty to this conversation simply by walking. And I don't know if it's the same cow that keeps passing or if it's different cows, but it's adding so much beauty just by strolling. It's on the other side now. Then it feels like maybe we're overcomplicating things, right? Maybe we should just stroll around.
Amen. You know, there's this all this space out here, and the question pops up a lot in my head and in other people's head of, you know, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do with it? You should do this, build that, do this. And the real call is, I've just been listening, get rid of this agenda, has been simply to walk. Just walk what the land wants. Do you want more people out here? Do you want like a, you know, retreat center? Do you want like a school? What do you want? Just walk. That's enough.
I am desperately looking forward also to the day to be able to walk with you on that land.
Absolutely. Too.
Yeah, it's kind of cool that by exemplifying that kind of non-materialist expression of just strolling and appreciating the sun and the wind. I did, it's a little autobiographical, but I did some Tai Chi in the light rain this morning, and it was the best. I was at a park for about an hour, and I left the park connected to everything I saw afterwards, living in this dynamic world that was so open and alive. And yeah, with no agenda. I wasn't like, oh, how can I capitalize on this and turn my time into something? And yeah, and you're a light to the world. Like, I think it's Simone Weil, the great Neoplatonic French philosopher, said, you know, you're an example to everyone while you're alive. And those are the best teachers, right? Teaching without words, as Lao Tzu would say. So maybe the cow is just teaching without words.
Yeah. How do we become an ancestor worth descending from? And you know, it's a little easier to live in simplicity in a place like this, you know, and also, you know, there are deaths. Like, think about Marcus, like you were saying, war and political conflict and just the amount of suffering and tragedy, I think, in some ways is required to cook one's soul so that the beauty becomes somehow more obvious in some ways if you can, I don't know. I guess there's something I'm just playing with. I don't have a clearly formulated thought, but the play between tragedy and beauty, and kind of maturation and wisdom and soul development and all of those things. There's a deep, having your heart broken is baked into the process. Having your heart broken over and over and over.
There's a big difference between seeing the beauty in the world as a naive child and seeing the beauty in the world as someone whose heart has been broken by the tragedy and the suffering of life. There's a big difference.
Yeah, I'm just glad that I don't have to go through the tragedy of life alone. I think that makes it much more bearable. And it's also, I think I'm learning it's more bearable the second time than the first. And I think it's Leonard Cohen has this song that's like, the cracks are what lets the light in. And yeah, the beauty of like transcending your hate after a broken heart, or your jealousy after you don't get what you want and someone else does. Like, I don't know, there's something very virtuous and like turning the sadness into like a sad opportunity or something. So yeah, thank you for reminding me of that.
Maybe tragedy is something like the birthing of vice into virtue somehow, something like that. Or maybe that's one way. Turning envy or jealousy, hate, and finding actually going deeper into the root, which behind that is generally love, actually.
Because if virtue is excellence at being excellent at something, then vice is not yet being excellent. And what makes us excellent? Like that pressure, right? Like that going through the fire, cleaning all impurities. I like that. I really like the idea of suffering, turning vices into virtues, or bringing out the virtues that is already in the vice.
Yeah. Tragedy is like a beauty making ritual or process.
Mm. I internally, like, spontaneously screamed, I don't want to be beautiful then. Tragedy is hard. But indeed, like Robert said, I'm so grateful that I don't have to go through it alone. Although sometimes we do. It feels like a choice we need to make consciously, right? Somehow it feels now like a choice to me. Are you willing to suffer so that the world might see beauty? So that the world might turn around to the truth, the good.
that resonates deeply with me, especially in looking at intergenerational trauma, ancestral trauma. If this body, my DNA holds the memory and the code of all those who came before and all that they could not transform, and both did transform, and also what they could not transform in their time, then that now becomes my responsibility. So there's something kind of wonderful about that in some ways of one, it feels like I'm not alone in doing this, as Robert and you were alluding to, not even just these othering outers, but like all those within. But yeah, am I willing to take what was inherited and polish the hell out of it so that it becomes beautiful, so that those who I leave behind, those who come after me, have more treasure than junk in their chest, you know, in their tool belt.
Because you do mention that the others, in the sense of the ancestors, are there also, but to me it feels more like they're the burden than the help, because they weren't able to deal with the suffering that we now have to deal with on their behalf.
They hold a lot of stories. They actually know a lot. And I hear you. It's a both and. I call on them a lot. I ask for a lot of guidance. They also feel a lot of their pains. It feels like a reciprocal kind of deal. Like, okay, in this body, I'll do what I can to move and release what was so hard in your time. And you're in the deal is when I ask for help, you guide me in the right direction. Invisible help. That's been my experience.
Yeah, I love the like resourcefulness I hear from both of you. Like you're both like embodying and like begging for this kind of primordial resourcefulness. And I think there's a lot of truth in that. And yeah, it's so empowering in a weird way to remember that I'm part of a human process, like a human history, and how you know, there's no end to it potentially. And you know, it's maybe one day we'll learn how to raise young people that only become virtuous, and everyone will get together and, you know, turn all sorts to plowshares, as the saying goes, and those kind of things. But until then, right, it's just it's this beautiful struggle, right? It's not a childish beauty that is naive, nor is it a like a tragic, cynical view, but it's like transcends both of them in their best ways. And again, just yeah, it feels so grateful to participate in these kind of things and be inspired by, you know, I want to say the four of us with Marcus here. And you know, Rick keeps filling my heart. I keep feeling him in the presence too. And it's like, you know, even though my eyes say there's like one moment happening, there's so much more. There's so much moreness to all of both of you and to the universe, that it's quite humbling, I think, is the best word I have.
I feel this Zoom room is so full because we invoked or evoked, I'm not sure which one, the ancestors. So this Zoom room is much fuller than the 4 or 5 of us. It's
Yeah, I'm just all of a sudden feeling the ancientness of the bacteria in my gut. That's what came alive. I have all these bacteria, trillions, you know, from what I understand. What science, I think, I don't know the exact numbers, but it's a lot. um, and more to be discovered, no doubt, you know. But there's this whole cosmos within even my stomach, which I think is really the first brain. But there's a lot of ancient wisdom in there too. So much memory in my bacteria.
they're so much older than us.
And they're still with us. We learn how to communicate with them, you know, more clearly.
I have noticed my bacteria really likes broccoli. Like I was one time I was preparing broccoli and it almost felt like I could feel them like, yay, like going, yay, broccoli is coming. I'm not as fond of broccoli, but they are. I think so. I was quite sure in that moment that I heard them rejoice in the virtue that is the broccoli.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Our body has, I hope this isn't too nerdy and rips us out of the sacred space that we've been building here, but like our body has all these connections, and there's, you know, nerve signals coming up from your stomach and going to your stomach, and like why would your intestines need to know anything, right? Like it's such a, like the brain should be doing everything, and but it's the heart has memory in it and it keeps track of things in a weird way. Like the more they find out about science, the weirder the human body kind of is. Yeah, and I just keep getting pulled back to this macrocosm, microcosm metaphor that, you know, I am a whole that is a part that is full of parts that are wholes. They're looking at two beautiful people nodding their heads that are parts of a bigger whole, and it's just yeah, I guess it's the combinatorial explosion, as the well, he doesn't like to be called a sage, as the great person John Vervaeke says. And yeah, again, just wonder, like such a mystery this life is. How can you know, at one point go like, I got it, and then immediately like 10 minutes later go, it's a mystery, I know nothing. Yeah, so yeah, thank you both for this process.
I think the one that is nowhere and no one and no time actually got it. This girl doesn't.
Yeah, and as Robert was speaking, I was thinking about whole, not WHOLE, but HOLE, you know, whole, parts and wholes, portals, black holes, mystery, right? Holes everywhere, holy. I mean, it's yeah, love that. Sacred holes where parts come alive, come out of.
Yeah, this was wonderful. I think maybe we could wrap up here if that sounds good. Yeah. I feel like mini Marcus inside of my head saying like, oh, practice more, Rob. Keep practicing. So we'll do the wrap up ritual, and I'll close the Zoom room. And thank you both so much, just in advance.
Thank you. This was beautiful.
Yeah, maybe we'll do this again sometime. Yeah.
Yeah. So much love.
Yeah, I love both of you. You're both two of my favorite. I'm just so fortunate to know so many beautiful people, and it's almost ridiculous. There's like got to be a meteor heading towards Florida to rebalance the universe out.
Like a flood.
Yeah. There was some condos washed away in the hurricane last week, so maybe. Yeah. Anyways. So just to close, also I've been told that quiet time, wholesome comedy, not bitter comedy, wholesome comedy, and like wholesome, maybe kind of indulgent food is great after these kind of participatory activities. So again, imagine a white circle around you. Nothing bad can get in it. It's a safe center. Now imagine white light like a pillar surrounding you in the circle. Cleansing you. Removing unwanted thoughts. Unwanted emotions. Cleansing you. Now gesture forward and imagine a small symbolic piece of earth. Honor that feeling. Grounded. Centered. Rooted. Now gesture left and imagine a small symbolic piece of water. Honor that feeling. Emotional, moving, rhythmic, harmonic. Now gesture right and imagine a small symbolic piece of wind. Honor that feeling. Intelligent, floating, moving, light. Now gesture back and imagine a small symbolic piece of fire. Honor that feeling. Powerful, desiring, moving, changing. Now integrate these feelings together. Sacred, respected, reverent, connecting you to the present and all of us. You're both beautiful people. I'm so lucky to know both of you, and have a great rest of your day.